Leisure Activity Project, Cooking, by Daniel Kellenbarger. Throughout the early part of the 20th century, cooking was deemed women's work in American culture. Manufacturers designed appliances like stoves for the comfort of women. In the early 20th century American culture, women used cooking as leisure activity and to entertain guests. Cooking was viewed as a source of power and magic by women, and at the same time as a source of oppression. In early American advertisements for cooking appliances like gas stoves, women were usually depicted doing the cooking while the men talked to the salesperson about the functionality and engineering specs. Women in rural farmlands cultivated vegetable gardens and prepared meals for large male crews. It was more acceptable in society for women to adopt masculine behavior, such as paid work, than it was for men to adopt feminine behavior, such as doing unpaid work, like cooking. So men were seen as the breadwinners and often stayed out of the kitchen. If women went to work outside the home, then they had to make additional time to also take care of domestic responsibilities like providing cooked meals for her family. In the mid-20th century, you had media perpetuating the idea of cooking as women's work, with shows about cooking headed up by famous women cooks of that era, like Julia Childs. The photos shown here give glimpse on how women were portrayed during this period. Like the funny little picture on the upper right corner that says, "Don't worry, darling, you didn't burn the beer." It was not uncommon for media advertisers to belittle women's intelligence, like shown in that ad. I also have a picture of Julia Childs cooking in the lower right-hand corner. Now let's look at the current issues and relationships to class materials. Underlining Western capitalist development, kitchens stabilize as women's spaces. Women, unlike men, often locate their gender identity in household labor above paid work, making caring work crucial in the ideological construction of femininity. Because of the women's rights movements of the 1960s, feminists like liberal feminists advocated for the release of inequality and promoted rights and freedoms for women, like working outside the home and having equal pay with men. This type of feminist thinking is one of the ways that helped to develop the freedoms and opportunities that women have today. This goes right along with the material that we covered in our Women and Leisure class, when we discussed the different feminist movements from the excerpts of both Gains and Gaps, Feminist Perspectives on Women's Leisure by Henderson, Belchecki, Shaw, and Freisinger. Nowadays, evidence shows that men are doing more cooking, but not because they are picking up the slack for unpaid work, but because it is deemed more of a leisure activity. Leanne C. Sayer of Ohio State University wrote an article, "Gender Time and Inequality, Trends in Women and Men's Paid Work, Unpaid Work, and Free Time." In Table 2 of the article, it shows that women and men's time allocations to paid and unpaid work are strikingly similar in 1998 than in 1965. The reasoning of this phenomenon of men's increased unpaid work time is that men are specializing in more rewarding tasks such as leisure cooking activities, but still leaving women to tend to the less pleasant routine chores such as cooking to provide sustenance for the family. Now, in this day and age, media has seemed to reverse itself. Whereas before there were more women cooks on TV, men chefs are now present on cooking shows. Such famous chefs include Jamie Oliver, Gordon Ramsay, Bobby Flay, and Emeril Lagasse, with this famous BAM line. Well, enough for the past and issues. Let's see what I'm cooking. For my meal choice, I've decided to cook lemon herb chicken. Here's a picture of my food materials and my cooking equipment. Here you see me preparing the rice for cooking. I'm washing the rice and putting in the water. I realized later that I didn't put enough water in, and when the rice was done cooking, it came out a little crunchy. Here I'm preparing the vegetables. You see me washing the zucchini and the yellow squash in the sink and then chopping them so that I can steam them later. I prepared 2 yellow squash and 2 zucchinis for my meal. Here up in the right hand corner you see me cutting off the fat of the chicken. I wanted to make the chicken as lean as possible. And then in the lower hand corner I'm poking holes in the chicken so that way the juices can seep inside of this a little bit easier. The upper right picture is of the chicken marinating to absorb flavor. The bottom left picture shows them on the broiler pan, getting ready to be cooked. On this slide, the upper right picture shows the vegetables prepared and ready for the steamer. The other picture shows them in the steamer. They came out a little mushy, but still good. Here is the finished product: lemon herb chicken over a bed of rice with steamed vegetables, topped with seasonal and cold iced tea to drink. My family enjoyed it, and so did I. What was my personal reflection on this assignment and personal learning? Let's take a look at the next slide. In my personal reflection and learning, I found that the activity was challenging because of the amount of time required to prepare a meal for a family. Learning how to multitask in the kitchen is a skill I feel that most women have mastered. I'm still acquiring the skill. The insights I learned in this activity regarding my gender is that it is fun to cook, and there is great rewards in seeing my family enjoy what I crafted. Insights that I have gained regarding the women gender is that people as a whole need to understand what gender awareness is, which means that you need to acknowledge that gender inequality and discrimination still exists and that it is not a thing of the past. We need to adopt a modest feministic perspective, especially for women, considering it helps them develop a healthy body image. According to an article entitled "The Relations Among Feminist Identity Development, Gender Role Orientation, and Psychological Well-Being in Women." Even though feminism has helped shape gender roles presently, we also should keep in mind that based on the progress that we have made, we have also created a society of people, women and men, that work longer hours, which has caused our family and friendships to deteriorate. I would participate in this activity again, and I will, considering the fact that I am able to provide healthy meal choices for my family and give my wife a break, considering she is the breadwinner in our family.